They can hear you if you talk over it, yeah. But you guys are live.
Okay. Awesome.
But,
I just shared to a bunch of groups, so.
Yeah, I just also posted on the Instagram's feed.
Oh, good.
Morning, so
my the chat thing the last 1 or 2 times I've used it since the last time has worked fine. So
okay.
I'm gonna do everything I can to pull those questions up on screen for you.
Nice.
Awesome. Last night I kept waking up thinking that it was already time to wake up for Bead Maker and coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm like at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3
Yep.
in the morning, 4.
I know, it's so scary.
And then I woke up and I'm like, is it 5:30 yet? And I'm like, no, it's 5:20. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's great. It's all misty and kind of chilly outside.
Oh man, we had some rain last night, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to be in the mid 60s today, and by Thursday it's supposed to be 90 degrees again.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I heard.
Yikes.
Cheryl and the girls are camping at a regional park right now, and it was cold there last night. Like, I didn't anticipate. I didn't bring enough hoodies or a big enough jacket.
William Lara says he likes to shower with Bead Maker.
Oh, I gotta get to the chat. Does he?
Yeah. And you know what's funny is my hairdresser's always like, what is this stuff in your hair? Because my hair just gets coated in Bead Maker, especially during the summer because of my fan in my garage. It just, the Bead Maker, as I spray it, it flies all over. And so we're constantly stripping Bead Maker out of my hair.
That's funny.
I know both of you guys don't have that problem, but it's a legit problem.
It provides protection
yes.
to my dome.
Yes.
Well, I'm actually glad to hear that William takes showers, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is a good point.
I did wonder about
Good point.
that.
That's funny. My cat just came on. She's like, oh, you're live. I love when you're live.
I haven't seen her any other time, really.
Last Bead Maker and Coffee, she sat behind my monitor in between the light and the monitor. Oh, here she goes. She sits right. I think it must be because the light's warm. She sits right between my monitor and the light.
Huh.
But yeah, if I'm in here on the computer, she just comes and sits with me the whole time. So funny.
I came in here and I'm like, couldn't find the dogs, couldn't find Britt, so I went hunting for them. Cameron ended up sleeping on the couch in the living room last night.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I found Britt and 2 dogs curled up on top of Cameron's bed before I came in.
Oh my goodness. How funny.
So
That's hilarious. Do the dogs just go where she goes?
pretty much.
That's funny.
You could almost count on it.
That's funny.
So when she's teaching at school again.
Oh, is she? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So now are you home with the kids by yourself?
Yeah, it's awesome.
How's that going?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's at home with the kids again, or at teaching with the kids, but she does come home at lunchtime, and then she teaches the rest of the day from home. Because her classroom gets used for the after-school program.
Oh, wow.
She volunteered to come home and finish teaching, because otherwise she would have to teach the second half of the day just on the computer, but from her classroom.
Yeah. Good morning, Scott. Well, that's cool. Is she excited to be back in the classroom?
Yeah, she
Good.
likes them. She's actually like loving she's got like 10 in-person students, that's it.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
But she's loving it. She's like, they're so engaged, they're so easy to work with.
Oh, cool. Nice. We've got a good audience already, so that's nice. Good morning.
Well, here you guys go.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. And we already got a good amount of people on. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, welcome to
All right,
Bead
take it away,
Maker
Kyle.
Coffee. Sydney, do you have your coffee?
I do. From the Mocha
Well,
Moose.
you do.
I can never find my camera. Here we go.
I got my
I
PNS
do.
water bottle with water, so I don't drink coffee. I need to drink.
I never
much
miss
water
my
this morning.
coffee. You know, true story, I didn't get any coffee yesterday till 1 p.m. and I realized why that's not a good idea. It's better if I have it in the morning.
Did everyone around you realize that it wasn't a good idea?
Yes.
Was it becoming a hangry kind of situation?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, let's start off, Sydney. I'll let you go this time. Talk about a detail and what product you use to protect or solve a problem, and then I'll go and we'll get into PNS business.
Okay, so this is going to be a little unconventional as far as the product I used. It was more the people I used. So I had a crazy week last week. So as some of you may know, I was at the rag company on what day was that? Wednesday, Thursday. And we had Gordon McCall join us in Boise, which was so cool. So Keith and Rennie came over and we had some filming to do and just some special projects with the rag company, and Gordon joined us. So long story short, as far as my detail is, I still had my regular schedule of details. And so Wednesday night, we got done filming about 5 p.m. and we were going to have dinner with the rag company crew at 7. And I had an entire Cadillac Escalade that had to be detailed before the next morning. And so, like, I'm sure everybody could see the panic on my face when we got done filming. And I was like, what am I going to do? I've got to rush home, somehow get this car detailed, and then get to dinner. And then we had to be back at the rag company on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So I'm sure everybody could see the panic on my face. And so Rennie, Keith, and Gordon offered to come up to my shop and help me finish the car. So they jammed and went and got new clothes on and met me up at my shop. And so I had them as my crew in my shop to help me detail this car. And I mean, they just dove right in and it was so amazing. And we had a lot of fun. And it was just so cool to have those three in my shop helping me detail a car. So that was my special tool, was to use the PNS guys to help me detail. But mainly, you know, we used a lot of Bead Maker was used. So it was just a lot of fun. And so that was kind of my highlight of my week, was having those guys in shop with me and working on one of my real customers' cars. So that was very
Gordon
cool.
McCall is free labor. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did. And like halfway through, I looked at him and said, you know, like the reality set in, and I looked at him as he was drying the car and I was like, sorry, I bet you didn't know you were going to be put to work when you came here, did you? And he just laughed and was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So yeah, that was super awesome.
That's cool, because Gordon is a detailer, you know.
Yep.
No matter what he's moved on to, he always comes back to that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool to have those three guys helping me. So that was fun.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about what you guys did at the rag company later.
Yeah.
So
what was your
am
detail?
Glad that Soul comes in a 100 ml bottle, because we did a ceramic coating on a customer's, it was a little over 30-foot long travel trailer. And so it was a couple years old, but it's been stored out of the sun. So it was in really good shape. And so we polished it and then paint prepped it and then put a couple coats of Soul on it. And as we were going, I was like telling my guy, John, like, how much Soul do we have left? He's like, we're almost out.
Oh no.
And I mean, we started off with probably 80 mils. We used it on a car before. And we probably have like 5 mils left. So it took about 75 mils to put multiple coats on this entire travel trailer. Focusing on the vinyl, we were really trying to preserve it, but he didn't really want to go into the longer lasting coatings. He wants to do this annually. So we did that. And I mean, it would have worked out probably around the same price if we would have just done inspiration on it. But it was nice having that full bottle because I don't have any more Sol. I need to get some more Sol. And it was one of those things where I made a special place where we had to come back to and get the Sol because I don't want to drop that bottle. And we've actually done that once before. So having a large bottle of ceramic coating was a win for me this week doing that. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, worked out good.
Cool. Awesome.
William, awesome. I love you too. And I know you like Sydney better. I do. I like Sydney better too. So you're
so funny.
You're comic relief all the time, buddy. Thank you. Chris popped it up. Thanks, Chris.
That's funny. What's their hourly rate? You know, I didn't ask them. I didn't ask them. Yeah, it's probably a lot higher than mine.
For Rennie Doyle. And,
yeah, I'm probably in the red because it was probably higher than mine.
Yeah. You owe them some more treats and things in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's definitely going to work. So real quick, before we get into a bunch of questions, Sydney, let's talk about what's going on with PNS real quick. The training center is, I believe, really close, or if not completed. It looks really good from the pictures we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keith was up there last week.
Yep. Keith was up in at Hayward. And then they also, if you guys haven't seen on PNS's Facebook page, all of the events, all of the trainings for the rest of the year are scheduled. And that's actually how you register. So there's a link on each date. Well, there's a link, but you can choose any date from that same link. You don't have to find the right event on Facebook, I believe. Right, Chris?
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah, right. So the link you'll choose the date on the link. But all of that is on the Facebook page. That's how you'll register for the trainings this year. And so all the dates are up through the rest of the year. So go check that out. That's super exciting. And Chris is organizing the registration for those events. And so we're just super excited. Again, May 11th is the first training. We're just super excited for those to get started again and get going from there. So
I'll throw in there real quick, just since I'm kind of coordinating all that. It's one Tuesday a month. There's a detailing skills class, and then the Wednesday immediately following that, once a month, is a ceramic coating class. So,
cool.
So it's 2 days a month of training, and what do you call it? All the details are on the Facebook events page for PNS, and also there's details there how to contact me if you're interested. So.
And we'll put that on the Instagram this week. We kind of wanted to do Bead Maker and Coffee announcement, towards the end of the week once we got those graphics. So we'll probably put those up today on our Instagram so everyone can see them. Along with, maybe we can put the link in our bio. And that way it makes it easier for everyone to contact you or for you to contact Chris.
Yep. And then we just had our birthday boy join us. So let's give Keith Duplessis a shout out. He celebrated a big birthday this Saturday. And so happy birthday, Keith. We wish we could have been there with you. I hope you had an awesome party. And so that's fun that he got to celebrate this weekend. Yeah.
Travel to Portland for us was going to be a little awkward. And you had Delaney's thing. But happy birthday, Keith. That is, we're glad you had a birthday, and we hope you're around for many, 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 many more that we can be with you.
Yep.
So
cool. And other than that, we're just working on some new product labels coming out soon. And, Kyle and I are always bugging Bob and Dave to make new products and do things. So we stay steady busy at that.
we had a hey Bob last week. Hey, Bob, we want to do this and update this wonderful product we've had forever. Just give it a new look. And he's like, all right, I'm down. Let's do it. So And believe me, we're going to continually bring out fresh looks for existing products and new products that we're always talking about. Excuse me.
Yep.
Woo!
Bless you.
It's that cold California morning, right?
Yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
cold. It's that morning air. So
Yeah.
let's get into a few questions and go from there.
Yeah, we need to. I think I've got one question here, but we need to get some more. Uh-oh, we lost Kyle.
Oh.
I had to sneeze.
Oh.
He's still sneezing. All right. So good morning. Third year detailing, and this winter ordered some PNS products to try, and that's all I use. That's awesome. Awesome. That is good to know. Tell us which one's your favorite.
Here's a question for you.
Cool. First time polishing my car, help on polishing pads and chemicals to use for the first time newbie. You want to take that one, Kyle?
Yeah. So if you're a first time polishing vehicle, I'm not sure which tool you're using, but as far as pads go, I like the Reflection Artist line of pads. The reason why is because they have a kit that allows you to go from pretty mild polishing all the way to cutting. And it's available on 5 and 6 inch pads. Really nice. As far as the pad size goes, it's kind of a try before you commit to a lot of pads. And if you're going to be in the polishing, I'm really liking our deep finish polish.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I use it, I'm really happy with the results. And that I would always go from mild to heavy to achieve the results. So I'd never really want to start with a heavy cut. Do a test spot with a nice soft pad. I would go maybe white or yellow in that line. And then if it's not getting the results you want, then step it up and go to either a little bit more aggressive pad, a little stiffer or denser foam, or go to something more like Ego Maker or some other compounds and work your way until you get the results. Mm-hmm. Then go ahead and do your whole vehicle. Don't just start polishing. Always do some test spots and determine what your paint wants first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And get comfortable with your tool and your pad and the process, like Kyle said, with polish before you step into using compound, just so that you don't cause any additional work for yourself to repair that. So yeah.
Even though you say you're a newbie, having quality tools, which is usually the name brand tools, whether that's a Flex or Rupes or a Griots, those are quality built tools, and they're going to be better for your hands. It's not going to vibrate like crazy like some other ones. Stay with those. They're worth the investment if you're going to continue into doing other vehicles.
For sure. Good question.
Okay, William, I see how it is.
This is a good question here from Philip. Can you use leftovers of a ceramic coating to make a ceramic spray? And if so, what products, chemicals, solvents should I use to create a homemade concoction? No.
Yeah. Let me tell you. No. I'm into doing some mixology on some stuff. I've mixed a few things here and there, mainly compounds and polishes to achieve the right polish and cut. But when it comes to ceramics, I don't get into doing that. I don't want to. I'm not a chemist. So if you're a chemist, we could have you talk to a chemist, but it's not something I would get into doing. I will stick with opening a bottle of a ceramic coating and applying it to a vehicle. I'm not going to try and make my own spray out of it. Not that it's not a cool idea. I get where you're going with it. But there's so many great products out there to achieve it. I don't even know why you'd want to do it, and probably going to cost you a lot more money than just. I would worry that you would ruin the remaining ceramic that you were using. And, we just don't know enough about, and I've actually had this conversation with Dave, asking him the same question. And my question to Dave at one point was, Sol is so good. Is there any way that we can dilute that down to make a spray? And in a whole lot of big words that I didn't understand, he just explained to me no. And so
I think that if he's saying that he can't do it, I don't think there's anything, it's not a dilutable product. So even if you put it in water or alcohol, I mean, it's not going to dilute like you think it would. So I think that's definitely a no on that. I would not try it.
And this kind of spray coating is on our radar. But right now we're happy with the results that Bead Maker brings for a spray-on protection. And then if you want more protection, then Sol. Because between those two products, you can pretty much protect the vehicle for either, 2 to 4 months or a whole year. So they fit that market. If you had a spray-on product that had SiO2 in it, it's going to take just as long to do Bead Maker, and you might as well just do Sol, because you can do Sol in almost the same amount of time as it takes to do Bead Maker. Anyways, so thanks for your question, Philip. Definitely got me thinking.
Here, hold on a second. Scott's got one question and 2 different posts. Is there a product that you guys have that can take severe water spots out of headliners?
Headliners inside the vehicle, I don't know what the water spots are in the headliner, like someone, threw their soda or water up on the roof. The headliners are glued up. So you got to be really gentle in cleaning them, and depends on how old the vehicle is. If a vehicle's 10 years old, I won't clean the headliner. If someone insists on it, I'm pretty much going to ask them to hold me harmless if it falls and sags down. I really would like to stick with like Carpet Bomber and Dry Steam to get anything out of a headliner. And if those can't do it, maybe a little Terminator to spot, but you want to keep it as dry as possible. Even if you do it and you have to let it dry and then do it again, be really careful. Never use an extractor on a headliner. Or just try and do it with a terry towel. I like using the terries on upholstery a little bit more than microfiber because it tends to have a little bit more bite. And use Terminator or Carpet Bomber.
So I had one last week that a soda had exploded in the car, and so up on the top was all the leftover soda, and I actually grabbed an old tool that I haven't used for a while, and this worked really good, so I'll share this tip. So for those that don't know, Kyle and I are doing a bunch of testing on some interior scrubbing tools. So the one tool that got retired from my arsenal was the Airbrush, which it's an absolutely fantastic tool. I just haven't needed it recently. But so I'm sure everybody's seen that little yellow, like triangle looking VLB brush.
Looks
and it's
like
got those
iron.
really, and it's hard and it's got those little tiny, finger type things. So I used that and I sprayed the Carpet Bomber onto the triangle and then used that to scrub it out. And it worked perfect. It took all that stuff off, and those fibers were just enough to get into the really short fibers of the headliner, and it just scrubbed all that out. And then I was able to just use a dry cloth and wipe it away. So I really introduced no moisture. It just used the Carpet Bomber on that little tool and scrubbed it out. So that was a great use for that.
Okay, so so Scott said it's water stains from the inside, like a sunroof. So
I wouldn't even try to fix it.
That's kind of like a residue that came through the rubber, and maybe it's a little bit of. This is kind of like what happens in RVs too, when someone gets a leak. Terminator, if it can't get it done, you may be replacing the headliner. You got to be really careful with that, because it's also not staining just from the water. What it's also doing is the glue. And maybe it could be rust, it could be dirt. It's all being pulled through that sunroof and then down into the headliner, and it's probably like around the rim of it. So that could be a bigger problem than just using a chemical to
Yeah.
clean. I've actually had to
Right.
use in RVs before, where it turns the white headliner yellow. I've had to
Yeah.
use like a bleach pen before because nothing would get it, because it's actually the glue that is yellow getting wet and coming down. So I'm actually cleaning glue residue.
Right. Yeah. Well,
so I'd
and
give
water
that a shot.
stains. Yeah, and water stains from the sunroof damage, you want to be careful because that stain's coming from the inside, so from the backing rather than something on the surface. So for me, if a stain's coming from inside the backing, I'm not touching it personally.
Yeah, I don't think you're
Chris
gonna get it 100% gone.
Yeah, Chris, can we throw back up Greg Pause? It was more of a comment, but I don't want to skip over that because this is a good one. So he said, Sydney gave me a tip on pet hair removal using a mist of paint gloss on the carpet to help release the hair, and it really works. This is definitely a tip that I always like to share. So paint gloss as a vacuum aid, you guys have to try it. It's so amazing. I cannot vacuum without paint gloss. And more than just pet hair, it cuts that static charge just like it does when we use it over Bead Maker. And so with sand, I mean, any kind of hair, fuzz, you just get in it. And because of its kind of slight cleaning ability, you just get that when you do it, it helps the carpets look, I'm just going to use black as an example because most carpets nowadays are black. It just helps them kind of look refreshed, cleaner. It's so awesome. I literally cannot vacuum without paint gloss now. So if you guys have not tried that, definitely try it. And yes, awesome on pet hair.
I can second that. As soon as you taught me how to do that, I was blown away. And I have customers like with brand new vehicles or maybe a few months old, and the floor mats just are slightly dusty.
Yeah.
And it completely changes the look. I don't have to actually like clean the carpets on something like that. I just misted it with some paint gloss. I rubbed it in with my hand and I vacuumed it and I let it dry.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Because
it helps that dirt release.
It does release the dirt. And then I also feel like it kind of darkens the fibers of the carpet a little bit. It like gives it some moisture that it needs. Yep. So there was a question earlier about using Bead Maker from Ryan as a detail spray, or what product would you suggest? And this is where I'd go into, if you have the ability to have multiple products, I would suggest paint gloss as your detail spray. It has some cleaning abilities that Bead Maker does not have.
Right.
Even though I have Bead Makered a slightly dusty vehicle when I go to like McCall's, because we're just trying to lay down protection and remove it, I would go to paint gloss. It will lift the dirt a little better. And if it's really dirty, I would go to Epic, because Epic has a lot more cleaning ability and detergents built within it, and even a little bit of protection. It is more of an eco wash than it is a detail spray.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Paint gloss was made more as a specific detail spray, and Bead Maker is a paint sealant protectant. So for sure. And the two work great together. This one's for you, Kyle. This is Kyle's favorite.
Okay. So the bead cannon, that's what I would say. So I've done Bead Maker for years, getting on ladders, going up and down, and misting it on the side. And I like to use misting it on the panel and on the towel method, because I'm trying to put as much on as possible. And it works great, especially on vehicles that need a little bit of, we'll say, friction to get like light streaks off after a wash. You got to do that. But if I have an RV or a travel trailer and it's in great shape, it has a shine already, there's no streaks, you've already scrubbed it all off, fill your foam cannon with Bead Maker. And I use a separate foam cannon just for it. I'm going to have to get a Bead Maker sticker and put it on it, and maybe do a video soon. We'll have to do that before next Bead Maker and Coffee, and we can play that video. And I take my pressure washer and I will power wash Bead Maker on and let it sit. And what you'll notice is it atomizes the Bead Maker in a way that it just bonds. what I'm looking for is beading. And everywhere it's beading, sometimes you'll find a place, mainly like under windows or like where the awning arms are, where it's not, where water is running down. What I'll do is I'll squeegee that spot and I'll mist bead maker right there, because I want to make sure everything's protected. And there are sometimes spots that either there's a concentration of water that won't let bead maker touch the surface. Let it sit. If you're in good weather, let it sit for a minute or two. I would just keep misting it on and then go ahead and rinse it. I use spot-free water in my business, so I will give it a mist and build up the beads until I feel that it's fully rinsed off, and then we dry it. And I'll blow dry all the cracks and crevices, and I have microfibers on like a pole, and we dry the RV or the travel trailer. It works great. I've seen it last 3 to 6 months. Depends on where the RV is stored. Obviously, if it's outside, it's probably closer to the 2 to 3. But I have people that keep their, you know, $500,000 fully painted RV inside, and I've seen it lasting 9 months. But the RV's only driven, you know, 4 or 5 times a year, if that. So
yeah. And Carology, I don't want to miss this. Carology is asking, do you use RTU or diluted? So obviously you put it full. Yeah. Yep. And it's going to dilute with the pressure washer, but yes, put it in the bead cannon as full strength for sure. We lost Kyle.
Are we good, Chris?
Yep. There you are.
You're back.
You're back. Do you hear us?
Yeah. I lost you. So
we got to do this one just for fun.
I think I'm losing you again. What's going on here?
We hear you.
Well, maybe all of a sudden everyone's logging on for school in my neighborhood. I don't know.
So I have a weird and funny question. Are you ticklish? If so, who's more ticklish? Please answer this.
Who asked this?
Kate Johnson from YouTube.
I don't know if I'm going to answer this question because I don't want to be at a trade show and someone comes start trying to tell me.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go well. I'm just gonna.
I'll just share that I start swinging.
There you go.
That's my answer. Probably don't do it. Okay, so I know we saw one that we should go back to for the paint gloss over. Did you see that one, Chris, where they said why paint gloss over bead maker?
Did not see that one yet.
It was a while back. So somebody asked why paint gloss over bead maker. So I'll just share this real fast. We have a whole video on YouTube, and it's a great video. Go check it out on the PNS page. And it's all about all the tips and tricks of bead maker. It's like 45 minutes, but it's with Bob, Rennie, myself, and Kyle. And we go over every detail about bead maker. But in that is when I first shared that you can use paint gloss over the bead maker. So bead maker has a positive charge, and that's why some people in some areas tend to get a little bit extra dusting with it when they don't wait the full cure time. And so the paint gloss has a negative charge, and in the same way it kind of breaks that static release. And so when you put the paint gloss over it, it allows you to be able to drive the vehicle or just avoid the dusting much faster. So it does not change the behavior of bead maker. It doesn't change anything. All it does is just cut that static charge. So try that out, but go watch that full video and it will totally explain all of that. And we do it in the video. So check that out.
There you go. I just sent him a link to that.
Awesome. Perfect. You're awesome.
All right. Let's see.
Hi, Luis. How are you?
I want to go back up so I don't lose some of these.
Oh, he's doing a plane today. I'll be doing some planes on Thursday and Friday.
Express. Yes. I mean, Express will remove whatever the last protectant that you put on. The leather conditioner, it'll probably strip a fair amount of it. I mean, if I used Express over that, I would reapply the leather conditioner. I think it's also going to depend on how soon you use it after. The leather conditioner is going to penetrate deep, so you're still going to have some of that protection down deep, but you probably will remove that top layer.
I would add that Express isn't going to dry out the plastics or leather though, because I use it all the time and it doesn't leave things looking ashy or dry and dull. But yeah, it is a cleaner, and cleaners are going to remove those silicones. Probably not all of it, because Express is not a heavy cleaner. It would, if you want to strip a dressing, and this is the other way, I would use EnviroClean. That will strip everything. It's a lot more aggressive a cleaner, but Express, you're going to remove some of that dressing.
Yeah.
RV question. What's a good baseline on price? I always go with a linear foot price. Customers always like to have a reason or a formula why you're charging what you're charging. So generally, and this kind of depends on what we're doing inside, but I usually start around $10 per linear foot for an interior on an RV. That doesn't entail deep cleaning, like steam cleaning carpets to remove stains. It's like a steam clean of a carpet to just freshen them up. It does not include animal hair removal or odor removal, or deep cleaning of toilets, sinks, or showers or refrigerators. That can get a lot higher. I kind of get into that when we do like repos, or if I do someone who's going to sell their RV or just bought an RV. So anywhere between that $10 to $20 per linear foot, just depends on how much you're going to do. I like to look at how much I want to make on an RV by my time it's going to take, and then I come up with the formula reversed. So if an RV is going to take me 5 hours and you want to make $500 and it's 30 feet, then you do the math of the linear foot by how much you want to make. That way, if that customer ever buys another RV, or if they tell their friend that what the price was, you can tell them, oh, I charge them this per foot and this is why. So hope that helps. But a freshen up detail, I'm about 10 a foot.
Here's a good one for Sydney.
Yeah. So this one, honestly, from what I found, is all pads work. So I just judge it on what exactly am I trying to do? Am I just trying to freshen up the whole, piece of glass? Does it just have some kind of minor spotting and things like that? I will generally grab like a black or a white pad. But if it's got full water spots, I'm usually in a maroon or a wool. So wool actually works really, really well on glass. So the good thing is I've not found any pads that don't. Oh no, I did. The hard blue ones, they fling the clarity cream everywhere. So I don't know what those are. They're the really large open cell, really stiff.
Oh,
don't use
the
those.
Light blue ones.
Yeah, they throw like the clarity cream everywhere. So, but really, I think for water spots, I'm usually at maroon or wool. But so really, it's just on what kind of job you're doing. If you're just trying to make it nice and black and clear, you can often get away with, black. But it's great because you can really use whatever strength you need, so that's awesome.
William, I have designated clarity cream pads that I only use for clarity cream.
I do too.
And so I have a maroon pad from Buff and Shine. I have a microfiber finishing pad, but I don't have a wool. I haven't been doing as, I guess I could, but I don't have a wool. I literally have those two pads and they stay in their own area. I don't wash them. I just blow out the dust from the clarity cream, and that's it. And they stay there. And William, you always make me smile. So thanks, buddy. Sometimes in a bad, scary way. Here's
another question from Scott about Bead Maker. Yeah, best time to apply Bead Maker, and is it good to have a wet or dry
I've
towel?
done it in misty weather.
Yeah.
And I've done it in 110-degree heat. Best would be probably room temperature indoors, 70 degrees, 80 degrees.
Yeah, 60 to 70 degrees. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything will work. The reason why is because you can allow the bead maker to sit longer and it won't dry, and the longer that it can sit on the surface, the better. I mean, everything is it's gonna cure. You're gonna build it up. It's gonna fill the pores of the clear coat, and give you the bonding that bead maker needs to achieve longer protection.
Yeah. And so as far as the one wet, one dry, so this can go two different ways. So if it's really hot outside, like 80, 90 degrees, I will actually physically get a towel wet and wring it out and use that as my applicator towel. But otherwise, when I talk wet, one dry, what I mean is the first towel that's soaking all the bead maker up, that's going to get actually damp with bead maker. And then I have a perfectly dry towel. So just to clarify, I'm not sure what you mean by that, because there's definitely the times where we, pre-soak a towel with water so that it's wet, just to give you a little bit more flash time on the bead maker. But then, yes, it is always best to have one towel that's your initial wipe and your second completely dry to buff off any trails.
Your leveling applicator towel, and then you have like your finishing buff off towel.
Yeah.
That's what I do, the same thing to keep, especially because I'm outdoors a lot. So.
Yep.
Which towel, Sydney?
Yes. So my favorite to use with bead maker is the FTWs from the Rag Company. Honestly, they're a twisted loop, low pile towel, and they're highly absorbent. And so that for my first towel, I use that, and then I use a higher pile on the second wipe. Now the towel, though, I will say is completely important in the bead maker process. A lot of the failures that we see often come back to the towel. So especially if you live in an area where you tend to get a lot of bead maker, what they call bead maker dust, it's potentially because you're using a very high pile towel. High pile towels create static charge. And when joined with bead maker, they like to attract the dust. So low pile towels, super absorbent is going to be your friend. So try out the FTW. That's my personal favorite, or something similar, twisted loop. And then I will use like a creature, or even just my favorite second wipeout is just a regular 365, an edgeless. And but the towel does make a huge difference with the bead maker for sure.
I have orange towels. I love my orange towels. I think that's the 365, the edgeless, in orange. And I just think it looks good when I'm applying. And I know that that towel is just for bead maker. That's all we use it for.
Yeah.
Then I can take and I can soak those towels in rags to riches and get the absorbency back.
Hey, Kyle, I just want to check real quick before we go on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, carry on.
Okay, so I watched the Rag Company Q&A, and there was a mention of Bead Maker 2.0. Will this be a debut? I'm going to comfortably say no, because I don't think that, this question comes up a lot, and a lot of people would like to see it change. But every time we meet as a team and we kind of go over it, I think we just really don't want to change Bead Maker. Bead Maker is so fantastic the way it is and what it is. And I think we always come back to that, what is Bead Maker and what is it not? And, it really is a product that stands on its own. And it's hard to compare to other things out there. And it's a great product as it is. And I think a lot of us are like, we don't want it to change. But what I will say is that Rennie came up with a really, really exciting, fantastic idea that is totally outside the box. And I'm 100% behind him in it. And what it will, and it's not just about Bead Maker. It could potentially change the way we use Bead Maker, but it will affect a lot of products, it's just really cool. So I would safely say, wouldn't you, Kyle, that probably Bead Maker in its original form will will not
Yeah,
change.
we don't want to
Yeah.
mess with something that's working
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you do that, when you add things
Mhm.
to it, things change.
Yeah.
I mean, if we
Yep.
added different products to Bead Maker, what if it
Mhm.
changes the smell of Bead Maker? What if
Right.
it changes the color? I mean, those are things
Mhm.
then we'd have to tweak. So Bead Maker
Yeah.
in itself, I don't think, and I believe that
Mm.
the whole team we're happy with Bead Maker as it is. Whether we
Yes,
update
but
that
this
into
is
something
always
different, we don't
yet
know.
on our, yeah, but it is always on our planning board for sure. We just need to find, a way to kind of fill some gaps, but not change Beadmaker. So there may be just totally different products that come out, but Beadmaker will stand on its own.
Here's one about coating rims. What's the best and easiest way to apply coating to rims?
So, Golden Gate North, thanks for joining us. We'll say this. If I'm going to do the face of the wheel, I just use an applicator after I've paint prepped the wheel, and I'll use Inspiration. I'll use a popsicle or what they call bones to shove that applicator around the lug nuts and get in those tight spots. And whatever my massive hands can reach in the barrel, if that's the case. If I have someone that wants that calipers done or the barrels done, then I got to lift the car up, take the wheel off, clean it, it depends on the finish, whether it's a chrome finish, aluminum, clear coated, or powder coated. There's a few different processes I do for them, but I like to put multiple coats on there, and I would probably stick with Inspiration. I haven't tested Legend on wheels yet. That's why I say that. And it's tough. It's hydrophobic. It's going to hold up. Let it cure for a few hours or a day, and then hit it with Bead Maker. And then use Bead Maker as the maintenance after a wash. And if you do it right, you may only need soap and water to clean those wheels. It's most gentle on the coating. And I've had people before that don't even have to use an iron remover or even brake buster, very, very little, because the coating protects the wheels from the iron.
Yes.
Yep. So if it's black powder coated wheels, do it right when they're brand new. It'll bring back
ideally
some life.
Yep.
It'll bring back some life, but as black satin powder coated wheels get older, they become harder to take care of.
Yep. And the only other tip I have for that, Inspiration's a fantastic wheel coating. And the only other tool that I have for that is on Amazon. They have these they're like green sticks, and they have a foam. It's probably like a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square foam at the tip. So think of just like a really big Q-tip. And I get those on Amazon, and I'll use those if I need to get around the lug nuts, or if they're really tight spokes. Sometimes I'll use those foam applicators to get into the tight spots. They're great.
Looks like Carology says that there is Legend on his wheels, and soap and water cleans it as soon or ASAP.
Yep.
Yeah. I haven't done Legend yet because I haven't sold it to anyone yet. And I'll probably do it on my own truck, because next month I'm having my truck wheels powder coated, and I'll coat them right when I get them. And so that's good to know.
So I have a question for Carology then, because I have not used it on wheels. So do you find that the wipe off or removal, is that pretty good for Legend on wheels? I haven't done it yet. And really the only reason I haven't done it yet is just because Legend for us is, it's just been selling so crazy that even for us, it's hard to get our hands on. So we tend to keep it close to our chest. So I've only used it on paint so far.
So let me ask a question. Maybe he can answer too. What kind of wheels do you have? I'd love to know what the finish is. And then the other one is, have I used an airbrush to apply a coating on wheels? And yes, I have. I have a little airbrush kit. I've used that to apply to suspension on vehicles, and also get around the lug nuts, shoot it down in the barrels, and even do it on the brake calipers for people or vehicles that I really didn't want to take their wheels off. Because when you take someone's rims off their vehicle, it's a whole other beast. And you got to make sure you figure out the factory torque settings, and you have a torque wrench, and you remove that liability from your business. So
that's what I was going to say, is make sure you're insured to take wheels off, because that's I heard a lot of nightmare stories. So Carology did say that yes, it was very easy and they were prepped to the fullest. So that's awesome. I will definitely try that. So Nissan for 4 painted silver. Awesome.
Okay.
Painted silver with brushed. Awesome.
So probably have a clear over that brushed.
Awesome. Okay. Good to know. Will PNS be at the SDC in June? So Keith Duplessis and Prentice St. Clair will be at the SDC on June 5th. And the rest of us will be at an event here in Boise. So yes, there will be a booth, and Keith and Prentice will be there. So make sure you stop by and say hi.
Yeah. And, I'll add, just to clarify that we would all be there, except we do have a conflict with another event that was actually scheduled way before the SDC's date. So, and both events are annual events. So, but the SDC moved around a little bit because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep. Cool.
Let's see. Any other? I think we need some more questions.
I thought I saw some that we didn't get to, but I could be wrong.
Sydney, let me ask you a question.
I don't think so.
On your brass monkey wheels, what do you have on your powder coated wheels?
I just have inspiration right now. So, but I will definitely try Legend. So I think on one of them I have Soul, just because obviously our own cars get to be little test fields, right? So I think on one of them I have Soul, and then I have inspiration on the rest. So, and some of them I'm treating with Bead Maker, some I'm not. I'm kind of keeping track. So, but I will say that the inspiration is really nice. But I definitely will probably, the ones that I have Soul on, I'll probably try Legend on those. Soul is a great kind of a refresh for wheels, but I wouldn't say that it's going to hold up as a true coating, just because of the heat content that comes out of wheels. And so it's not going to hold up for very long. Now, that said, I've had the Soul on there for probably 7-8 months, and it's just now starting to wear off. So that's not terrible. But I think I'll put a stronger coating on them, because that brass monkey color definitely likes to fade and kind of. So I'm going to try Legend on them.
Airbrushing wheels process.
Oh, Keith said Shane Pennington will be at the PNS booth.
Oh yeah, I see that. Okay. I have a little cheap airbrush kit. When you use a coating and you atomize it, you're blowing it through an airbrush, you probably want to make sure that you have gloves, eye protection, and a respirator on. I mean, you're shooting it. What I've done, if I'm doing it in the garage, I actually put a fan at the door and I blow the air out, because you want air circulation. It will just sit there and float in your face. I've done it. So you got to prep everything and then let it dry. So I'll actually spray a wheel with paint prep, wipe it out with a microfiber towel, take air from the compressor, and blow all the tight spots. Make sure there's no paint prep hiding, around the lug nuts. And then I just actually airbrush it on nice and fine until it looks evenly laid and wet. Not, like you would painting a car or using spray paint. You don't want to give it a fine mist and leave it like a satin finish. You want to give it a little bit more so it looks evenly wet, and then let it dry. And some people can take an applicator if you want and buff it down on the flat areas. That would work too. I think the airbrush is great for just getting the tight spots. Yep. Is your cat doing something, Sydney?
Yeah, she's rubbing her face on the computer monitor.
Hey guys, Yeah, here's a question I wanted to jump in on a little bit. I'm going to let you guys answer the cleaning part of it, but it does say when it comes to Alcantara, which of your 3 fabric cleaning products do you use? And, Alcantara came up with the Mafia over the weekend, so I actually
did see that, yeah.
And nice. So I just thought, some fun facts. Alcantara is a synthetic suede. It's made from microfiber. Okay. And it is a brand name like Kleenex. So Alcantara is actually an actual brand, but it's compared to suede leather. It's going to feel similar, but it actually holds up better. So it can take the abuse better, which is why they use it over leather in cars, and it's lighter. So it's not as heavy of a material either. But so when you're referring to the suede in the cars, it's almost always either Alcantara or similar item, and it's usually never leather, believe it or not. So, but there you go. I wanted to show what I learned over the weekend, and now you guys
interesting.
Tell people.
No, but that totally makes sense, right? That's like the difference of using Kleenex versus facial tissue, right? That's very easy to understand. So my favorite, if I'm not using Carpet Bomber, honestly, on these types of fabric, I use Express Interior a lot. I spray it on a rag and then just, lightly rub I'm going to call it Alcantara because that's all I know it as. And that generally works really great for me. So I'm usually cleaning it at the same time that I'm cleaning the door. If it's on a seat and it's a little bit larger of an area, then I think I probably grab Carpet Bomber more. But when it's just the panels on the sides, I often just use Express, and Express works great on it.
So I think everyone's scared of cleaning Alcantara or synthetic suede. Yeah. Because the whole name Alcantara kind of came from the exotic cars. Yeah. And then it got kind of, I know that Subaru has it and a few other manufacturers. I think even Honda has it in like their Type R Civics. So people are scared of it. And it's actually pretty easy to clean. You just got to be careful. Like, I know, like, I've cleaned a red Alcantara in a Ferrari before. And it literally was turning the towel pink. Yeah. The dye in it was coming off really easy. So yeah, you want to be as light as possible. I would recommend starting with something mild like Express, and maybe using like a microfiber towel just to agitate. If it's not coming out, boost it a little bit. Go with Carpet Bomber. You could even dilute the Carpet Bomber down. It is dilutable, and bring it up in strength as you need it. And then I would be careful, but you always want to neutralize any cleaner on seats or carpets. So I would towel apply finisher. I would put it on, maybe do a little test area down in the corner, make sure it's not going to hurt anything, and use finisher. Usually Alcantara has leather near it too. Like the butt of it will be Alcantara, and then there'll be like a leather section. Try to avoid finisher on the leather. Use leather conditioner there.
Yes. And Shane, I'm glad you brought this up. I was actually going to mention this. So with this fabric, this comes up a lot. People ask if we can put the Inspiration fabric coating on it. And I do, but here's how I do it. So once you have it totally clean and it's absolutely 100% dry, that's important. I spray it on an applicator. So just a square microfiber applicator, not even necessarily the coating applicator, but just, you can totally use it. One of the non-lined ones is fine. And so I'll spray it on the applicator and then I just lightly rub it in one direction. Don't do messy because it could keep the fibers up. So I just lightly apply it in one direction across the seat or the door panel, and then let that kind of dry. And then I do a second coat, but I don't do the scrub in like we recommend, with carpets and stuff. I don't scrub it in just because you're not wanting to leave impressions in that Alcantara anywhere. And so that's important. So I just do everything very straight lines, even application. So you can do it one way, the first coat, and then the second coat, just go the other way with the applicator. And I've done it. It works great. It definitely helps protect it, helps protect the color. So I think it's a great idea. Just make sure that it's clean and dry before you apply it.
Hey, Chris, could we pull up the question from Philip?
Yep, working on it.
That's a long
There you
one, but I've been told that there seems to be a lot of different or confusion among detailers. This is talking about the term polish, with different manufacturers using alternative technology like swirl removal, final polish, cutting polish, etc. So what I would say is a polish in the world of paint correction. So paint correction is a cute new term that we came out for a cut and a polish, or a buff and a polish.
Right.
Usually at a body shop they call it a cut and a buff. So we have all these terms, and so I like this question a lot because we need to make sure as professional detailers that we are communicating the results to our customers. So some people think, and I had this happen to me this week, that because I'm going to polish your boat, and this happened with a boat, that every defect, every flaw, every bit of oxidation, every haze is going to be gone because I used a polisher. And I had to educate the customer and explain that in order to remove heavier oxidation, I needed to cut, meaning use an abrasive pad and an abrasive compound to remove a little bit of the surface. And then we follow that with a finer product, which is a polishing pad, a polishing product, to achieve the results they want. So in answer to different manufacturers using different terms, swirl remover or final polish, it's just marketing, I would say. Most of these products are polishes if they're doing a final polish. It just means, and a lot of manufacturers have a little scale on the side of their bottle that indicates the amount of abrasives or chemical abrasives, because it's not just rubbing, it's also chemicals that can polish too, to flatten the clear coat. Because that's all we're doing, right? We're trying to flatten the clear coat. Whether that means we're ripping it off or we're just refining it. So the term to detailers part, the confusion, just means you need to take time and communicate. I have a gentleman right now I'm talking about doing a paint correction on his truck. He wants perfection. When he found out what perfection costs, he decided he wanted a 3-step, because I told him perfection means I'm going to chase everything in this paint and it's going to be an hourly rate. That may have been out of his budget, but I could tell him that I'm going to do a heavier cut, a medium to finish cut, and then a final polish. And I'm basically refining as I go. And whatever comes out, comes out. I'm not going to chase a random towel scratch or maybe someone rubbed up against this vehicle at the dealership. So I hope that explains. I know I went into a bunch of stuff, but that's just terminology that we as manufacturers come up with to make us sound special. Yeah. And that's what it is.
Yeah, they're just trying to be fancy, which we like to be fancy too.
Yeah, everyone wants to be fancy. Everyone wants to use a fresh term, right? Yeah. Everyone wants a fresh name. Yeah. And so really it's about what's in it, you know, and there's some confusing products out there recently. We have some great compounds on the market that have some terms that are on the bottle that can be like, does this product have fillers in it? And that gets into a whole nother conversation. But let me suggest this too. Between each step, whenever you do a step, take time and use a little bit of paint prep, wipe the surface, and actually look at the raw paint, because compounds can have oils, silicones, and different types of, we call them fillers, unofficially, to hide defects. And you want to make sure that you're seeing them before you do your final polish or coat it, because, and I've been there, I've done that, then you go and coat it, and a few days later those things evaporate through the coating and you find swirls, or you find slight defects, or we also call RIDs, random isolated defects, just like a random scratch. And so make sure you're paint prepping often.
Yeah, we call the paint prep the truth serum.
I won't mention the name, but
I wasn't gonna.
we are all confused. Yeah, we are.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because polish is such an overused term. But
a one-step paint correction is just a polish, right? Because, and you can be removing defects with a polish, but if you're doing a paint correction, which my definition is the process of eliminating flaws from the beginning to an end. I have people that have called me and said, hey, this guy quoted me $199 to do a buff. And that's the same person that calls me and says, hey, there's buffing marks all over my car. I can use a compound in a wool pad and buff your car.
Yeah. Right.
And I can do it in 20 minutes like he did too. But you would want to go through the process of removing your defects to refine the paint.
Yeah. And I think, Philip, all that really matters is your communication with your customer on what their expectations are. Because I think customers they don't know our lingo. And so like when I'm talking about with my customers about if we're polishing, and I'll say like, if we're polishing your car, it's basically just going to brighten up the paint. It's going to remove some surface defects, some spider webbing, but it's not going to remove any scratches or major imperfections. So I think that, as far as if somebody else is giving you a hard time, I think the only person that really matters is that you're communicating clearly with your customer, right? Because that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So yes, it is very much an umbrella term. And I think that, just keep it simple for your customers and just lay out your expectations, and that, usually helps keep them happy in the end. And so I go through with my customers, what difference is a compound going to make if we do that versus a polish and or steps. So whatever you're comfortable talking about in the product names or the steps or what have you, just figure out how to communicate clearly with your customers on the expectations.
If you want to land the job, convince the customer to come in, or ask them for permission to waterless wash an area on the hood, clay it, do a polish, and say, okay, this is what this price gets you. Are you happy with that? If not, then do I have permission to do a compound and a polish, and you do the test spots until they're happy, and you tell them the prices as you're going, and that way, at the end of the day, one of two things is going to happen. You've made the sale, or they're going to leave and they're going to have a bunch of test spots on the hood, and they'll have to go to someone else and say, hey, can you get that out and make it look as good as so-and-so made it? And maybe that detailer can't get the results you did, and they're going to come calling back, charge them more than, but you need to communicate that way. So you want to read this one, Sydney?
What is a good product? Okay, go for it, Chris. Go for it.
What is a good product used on raw metals like steel, poorly coated metals like black oxide coatings, or white and yellow cadmium plating that will protect them from rusting after you've refurbished them?
So clear coat is the best thing to protect metals. That's why we have primer and base coat and clear coat on vehicles, right? We color on paint or paint on vehicles, in essence, is there to protect the paint or protect the metal, whatever, aluminum or steel, from corroding. Ceramic coatings will help, but they are not a
long-term
solution, or they're not the alternative to clear coat. So if you have the ability to clear coat an item, or if you take your wheels to a wheel repair place, they will machine them or sandblast them, and then they'll either clear coat them, or I prefer actually clear powder coat. That's the best. powder coat because it's not as soft. It cures harder.
Yeah.
But ceramic coatings are an alternative. I've seen some other detailers do some pretty interesting tests where they've ceramic coated raw metal, and in most environments it lasts pretty normal. But if you take it like off-roading or into water or whatever, it'll rust. It's not going to be a replacement. That's the word I was using for clear coat.
Yeah.
You could definitely try, you know, some more industrial coating similar to like Eclipse from IGL, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what
sure.
I've tried on some metal, and it has some great results because it's going to encapsulate fully. You may want to airbrush or use an HVLP gun to heavy apply a coating that way. I don't think applicator applying is going to lay it down thick enough,
right?
Unless you build it up, you know, as it cures. So Eclipse would work, something like that. There's a few other brands out there that have an industrial coating. You could try Inspiration, but you're going to need to use a lot of it. And I haven't tried Sol on metal yet, so I can't give you any. I'm sure it would work, but I don't know.
It's going to be short term, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm at the end of my question run here.
Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, that was
Those were good questions.
A lot of good questions, a lot of run going. And so, Chris, we're going to do something real quick. Bring yourself back on.
All right. I'm
Tell
here.
us about your shirt.
My shirt? Oh, we gonna do this too?
We're gonna throw this over. We're gonna give Rennie a little bit of love. So those of you who don't, we have Bead Maker and Coffee, but Chris and Rennie host a podcast also, the Rennie Doyle podcast, available. It's on all pretty much podcasts. And Rennie always asks Chris, "What shirt you wearing?"
Yeah, well, Rennie does 90% of the talking on those, but this is today's shirt. It's an Alfa Romeo. These shirts I get from Blip Shift. They're a lot of fun. They come out with like a different design daily, and then you order it and it shows up a couple weeks later. So, but I've worn this one before. I just got 2 new shirts the other day. One of them is got Hot Wheels cars on it. It says die cast, live fast, something like that.
Oh, funny.
And then
that's
and
hilarious.
Then the other one's got a Ford GT40 on it. So
cool.
I'll wear those soon.
Cool. That's fun.
I definitely like that. I mean, it is definitely Chris that, you know, it's a different shirt. We maybe we should do a PNS shirt like that, like a car on it.
That's something
cool.
fun.
It'd be fun.
Maybe we'll wear it.
Well, and actually what's kind of cool is the artist that did this, I've already reached out to him. I'm going to be having him do a similar drawing of my Baja Bug.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
That'd be cool.
That's something I would wear. Wear a shirt of a friend's with a friend's car on it.
Baja Bug.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
So hold on, there's
Very
a couple
good.
questions that just rolled in before we wrap it up. Let's answer Brian's questions, and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Yeah. So he says, I'm asking about the coating on Ferraris in particular. They cannot be clear coated with paint because concourse judges will catch that and penalize the owner. And a lot of them are in high heat areas on the engine. Did you say that can be coated? And then that cuts out. All the metals have to be a certain sheen, and that's another reason they can't be clear coated.
Yeah, I understand the metal you're talking about, those heat shields and exhaust and all over that area. I mean, when you're getting into concourse stuff, once you do it, you do it, you know, no coming back. So you may want to find another part with a similar metal and do a test without doing the testing on your customer's vehicle. So ceramic coat it, but find, you know, because some of those parts, and I don't know how old they are, but I've seen some, you know, titanium parts that you can't polish with metal polish because you'll take away the bluing that is natural to it. And there's all sorts of things that these judges look for and how they naturally would have come from the deal or from the factory ages ago. So maybe your customer has old Ferrari parts laying around that you could test the coating on beforehand. I get what you're trying to achieve, but this is not something that I have an answer for exactly.
Yeah. Keith says they can be, but if it is a concourse restoration, I would leave it alone. They want it all original. So Brian, we'll see if somebody can give you a call on that. Maybe Keith, he probably knows better on those concourse.
There are a few concourse level detailers that we know that have been doing this a long time, and they may have better answers. I wipe down concourse cars. I've done a couple details on concourse cars to get them ready for a show, but not at that level of.
I'm trying to think of his name, but we lost Sydney for a minute. We know somebody that does a lot of Ferraris actually at a concourse level.
Well, the best one I would know would be his last name. He used to do a lot of work with leather therapy. I think it's with an F is the last name. I'll have to think about it.
I know. I just found him. Eddie Fiuza, Fiuza.
That's him.
Yep.
He does Ferraris all the time. Yep, that's him. So you may want to message him and ask him what he's done on that, because that's what he's done for his whole career.
Yeah. Brian already knows of Eddie.
Yeah, he already knows him. I've met him at SEMA a few times over the years. He was working for another manufacturer for leather, and I follow him on social media also.
Awesome.
Well,
cool. Well,
yeah, that's a much tougher question, but
yeah, we'll try and help you walk through those tough questions, or at least find the person that can. Seeing how Chris has, and I and Sydney have a lot of network that we can help with. Well, next Bead Maker and Coffee in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today.
Are we going to answer with video?
Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. I'm going to have to go back through and find one.
It was coating metal. It was coating wheels. Maybe do the wheel coating.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a wheel coating.
Well, you could do that, and I could do the bead cannon.
Yeah. Oh, the bead cannon. That one needs to happen. The bead cannon needs to happen.
I'll have to make that one happen. I keep wanting to do the bead cannon on my own trailer, but I don't want to do it because I haven't had a chance to coat the sides of my trailer yet.
Right.
I coated the front and the back, but I need to coat the sides. Actually, I want to put Legend on the sides of my trailer now, on my fifth wheel. So maybe if I can get that coated soon, I could do a bead cannon on it, or I'll just do it on a customer's RV.
Well, what are you doing this afternoon, Kyle?
Yeah. Well, the RV's out. The RV's out camping, isn't it?
It's out camping. I guess I could go do it and coat it out in the rain.
Yep. Cool.
So
awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Very good. Well, thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you all.
See you in 2 weeks.
Right? Yep. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.